celebrating the mistakes that all parents make. You're listening to the Shit Dad Podcast.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Shit Dad Podcast, where we turn you from lad to quintessential Aussie dad, talking about our fatherhood experiences along the way. I'm Cam.
I'm Nick.
And I'm Dave.
And thanks again for taking some time out of your busy lives to hear about our experiences and share your own. This episode, we'll be talking all things postpartum depression in dads, and we're joined by a very special guest, friend of the show, Ashley. G'day, Ashley. How you going?
Hey guys, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Yeah, outstanding. Yeah, it's super awkward because we've just spoken to Ash for 5 minutes on the phone. Yeah, we're great. It's so good to see you.
We're looking forward to getting a lot of expertise from you tonight. So thank you for joining us. And you actually came to us via one of our listeners, our OG listeners, I think.
Yeah.
Your husband Ash, is that right? You're both called Ash.
We are Ash and Ash. Yes.
Does that cause some confusion with friends and family?
Look, not really. We went to high school together. So I've always been known as Chapo and he's always been known as Fenton. So it's only weird when we have to introduce each other to someone new. And I go, this is my partner Fenton. They're like, that's a weird name. I'm like, it gets funnier.
Can't say that. You should just introduce one as Ash and the other as Lee. Happy days.
That's what his family do. So when he introduced me as like, this is my friend Chapo, his pop was like, no.
That's not happening.
Thanks again for joining us. Before we get stuck into what's going to be a really important discussion for a lot of listeners, hopefully, we're going to get a bit of a story of the week. So I'm hoping, Ashley, that you watched the latest Bluey episode this week on Sunday.
Yeah, look, I have to admit, I haven't. We're not at Bluey yet. We're only at 12 months, so we're strictly like Wiggles and Mickey Mouse at the moment.
You don't need kids to watch Bluey.
No, I sent these boys a photo last night saying, this is how you watch Bluey, holding a beer, and it's just me.
Well, that's all good. We'll talk you through what happened because it was quite an interesting episode, especially with the theme of what we're talking about tonight. So you boys watched it as well. Essentially, the family went on a beach trip, which we saw the previous episode, and all 7-minute long episode, the dad was just out of it. He was kind of not really saying much, just kind of staring off into the distance.
Phased out, yeah.
Yeah, and his wife told him a couple of times just to kind of get over it and
just let it go.
Yeah, let it go. And they never really explained what it was or what was kind of upsetting him. And at the very end, one of his youngest daughter, Bingo, was upset about something, and they told her to bottle or take all those different emotions, the sad, the angry, and the upset, and just throw it away into the ocean, which she did. And then he had a little moment to himself, the old dad, and he did the same thing. So obviously, whatever was annoying him, he kind of put into a ball and threw into the ocean as well.
That's such a good perspective, hey? I've thought about that, and we've used it once. We used it this afternoon, and it worked an absolute treat. Honestly, he was just like, I've watched that episode. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, okay, I'm going to try it. And then he like bottled it all up, and he was about to throw it, and I've just gone, what are you doing? Throw it outside. I don't want it in here. And he's just like, he started laughing, and we jumped outside, and it was all good. But yeah, it's hard to think what he was thinking about, but I think you're right, where it's all about not being in the moment, sort of thing, having too much on your plate, and it all starting to creep up on you. I also think personally that he was thinking, because they were up at Curramundi Lake, up the Sunshine Coast. I think they were thinking they were stressing how long to leave it before having to sit in the southbound traffic on the highway on the way home, the Sunday Arvo traffic. So that was in his head, and he just couldn't concentrate. And yeah, that was my thought.
Yeah, I think we've all been there. Like, you've got something with work, hanging over your head, distracting you from living in the moment and actually enjoying some of the time with your kids. So it was a good message for the adults as much as it was for the kids.
I think Bluey's finally touching some more real, like, I suppose, harder topics.
Yeah.
Like the one previously about, trying to relax. The mum's trying to relax and the dad's just chilled out, whatever, letting the kids do whatever. And the mum didn't know how to relax. And I think now this one is like, okay, now we're looking at a map, like maybe the dad perspective of how often I remember. I looked at last night and sitting there going, shit, the amount of times I do that, like I'm so preoccupied with pre-writing an email in my head or whatever it was, and then I missed this awesome moment with the girls. Yeah, it's let it go.
It's good that they're addressing both sides of the story of both parents can get twisted off at some stage of the day. So
Yeah.
Well, there you go, Ashley. We highly encourage you to check it out once your daughter's ready.
it's super relatable, hey?
Yeah.
And then the next thing we wanted to quickly mention, and this is a public service announcement for all the dads listening, Mother's Day is coming up in a couple of weeks, Sunday the 14th of May. So if you haven't already, have a think. Order something online now so you don't have to think about it, and you can thank us later.
Bang. Honestly, in my humble opinion, if you are not asking your missus to tell you what she wants for Mother's Day and then complimenting it with a box of chocolates or a bottle of wine, you're doing it wrong. That's how you do it. Birthdays are different. You can I do the same on birthdays, but if you're not doing that for Mother's Day, you're going way too much out of the box. Too much
Just
effort.
be open to the hints, are you saying?
No, just blatantly say, what do you want? I'll get it for you. And then sort of just go chocolates or wine on top of that.
Ashley, what are your thoughts? What's your approach for Mother's Day? Is this your second one?
Yeah, this will officially be my second one. I feel like I'm under so much pressure now because if I screw this up, there's going to be dads out there going, this chick recommended it didn't pay out for me. Look, my Mother's Day request every year was like, I just want a new dressing gown.
Nice.
Because I'm sick of like walking around the house in an ugly ass dressing gown. I want to feel pretty when I'm at home too, like loungewear.
Yeah.
And this year I've just asked for slippers. But look, you can never go wrong with something homemade, in my opinion. Like, just if you've got a little one, a little handprint on a piece of paper, a big mess, love your mummy on it. That's what it's all about. That's what Mother's Day is for. Birthdays, go big, get the jewelry or whatever.
Spend the money you don't have.
Homemade, that's sort of more meaningful. Yeah, more meaningful. Balance that out with Mother's Day. Save the bigger gifts for the birthdays, because I think most mums just want to be loved and cared for that day.
Oh, that's nice.
And every other day, really.
Yeah, that's great advice. All right, thanks for sharing. Now, quickly, before we also get stuck into our topic for the week, I've got a joke for everybody.
Ooh. Nom, 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 nom.
I was walking down the street in Mexico and an ambulance flew by with sirens blaring. As it turned the corner, it hit a bump and the rear doors briefly opened and out flew a small cooler, or esky. The ambulance continued on unaware. A small crowd gathered, and when someone opened the cooler, I looked inside and there was a human toe, which prompts the inevitable, what did you do? To which I find great joy in replying, I called a tow truck.
That's fucked, but it's so good.
All right, enough of that.
I agree.
The real reason we're here tonight, Nick, do you want to get us underway?
Yeah, correct. Okay, so once again, appreciate you coming in, Ash. We're talking about postpartum depression in dads. Big topic. We haven't addressed it yet, and it's super important because we do talk about mental health quite a bit on the podcast, and I couldn't think of anyone better to come in and have a chat to us than a listener's wife who specialises in such subject. So, Ash, please tell us a bit more about yourself, your business, and what you do.
So since having a baby, I've gone into the private practice world. So I am a counsellor, psychotherapist, and I work with couples and families in private practice. But before that, a big chunk of my clinical career has been working in functional family therapy. So working with families who experience domestic and family violence, and working in home with the whole family. So engaging the parents and the children all in one session. And I guess from that, I've always been passionate about men's voices in therapy. I think there's a lot of stigma around therapy and men and mental health and talking about what needs to be spoken to in the family. And so I found where we'd get a lot of movement in families is bringing in dad's voice. and for him to have a voice that, for our context, wasn't abusive, and could be heard and landed for the rest of the family. And that's where we get a lot of change. And then my interest in working with parenting partners was through our own journey of having a baby as well. And in my postpartum period, of course, I sort of had an eye out for who was screening for mental health, having an interest in that and working in that area. And what I noticed was my partner was completely missed. We were part of the MGP program, so we had 6 visits with the midwife after we had a baby in our home, and one midwifery student even just acknowledged my partner. The rest of them couldn't even say hello, didn't care if he was at the appointment or not. So he was completely sidelined, and the focus was on baby and I mean, rightfully so. Sorry, guys, women kind of trump you in the birthing space. We have done the physical hard yards. But, you know, dads are very much so experiencing trauma right alongside us. And I noticed, no one was really talking to him and checking in with him and how he was. And no one, even with our friends, no one really asked, which spiked my interest as well. And I sort of started going down the research line of it. And that was pretty consistent in the research, is that dad's perspectives of the postpartum period is feeling missed by the healthcare systems surrounding them. And that contributes to depression in men, postpartum depression in men. And a lot of people don't realize that men can be diagnosed with postpartum depression as well. So,
Cool.
that's how I came
Yeah,
to
nice.
have an interest in this area.
So you say postpartum depression because they feel sort of missed and left out when it comes to recovery and the first few months of having a baby. But you also mentioned they suffer trauma alongside the mum. What sort of trauma are you talking about when it comes to that, from your field and your perspective?
So there's 2 lenses of trauma there. There's the direct trauma and secondary trauma. So direct trauma is often when the birthing partner, more often not dad, is in the birthing suite and experiencing his own level of trauma. That can be from a sense of helplessness, fear, not knowing what to do, seeing this really heavy thing in front of you, right? Birth is a really depthy, stressful space, even through a lovely, peaceful birth. I don't know if there is such thing, but even through the calm birthing, it's a really stressful space. And then add trauma on top of that. It could be anything from Bob's heart rate decreasing, doctors talking about going into an emergency Caesar. We had the experience of everything's going lovely, a button is hit and there's 8 people in the room and you have no idea who they are, what they're here for, no one's talking to you. And the secondary trauma as well. So that's when, more often than not, it's mum and dad left over. Bob might be taken to special care or NICU or anything like that. And it's mum and dad sort of left over, and mum sort of confiding in dad and going, oh my gosh, this is what it was like for me, yada, yada, yada. And dad's just trying to hold space. And that in itself can cause secondary trauma as well, hearing mum's narrative over and over again about her experience. So when you have a loved one, someone that you care for, and they're telling you how difficult that was for them, how heartbreaking it was for them, that can cause trauma for you as well. So they're the 2 sort of lenses that we look at in the sense of trauma, and then the impact ongoing from that is massive.
Do you have any, from dad's perspective, do you have any sort of ways that they can deal with that sort of trauma and things that they can practice to get through that, or ways they can support mum through that trauma?
Yeah, it's really just about listening. And I always talk about in sessions, like sitting in the shit for a bit. And unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but as you guys know, men are very logic. And so when you as mum sort of comes to your partner and go, this is how I'm feeling, the male brain sort of goes, this is how I can fix it. Let me do this for you. And more often than not, that's not really fixing it. Because we want to move through the yuckiness as quickly as possible. No one wants to sit in their yucky feelings ever. And so sitting with the shit with people is really important. So just acknowledging each other's feelings and being there. You don't have to say much, you don't have to do much, but just whatever they need in that moment, a hug, a cup of tea, or yes, I hear you, yes, I understand, that's really difficult, something validating, really acknowledging that you're listening and hearing them. That's massive. We don't need to make it a big deal of like, say X, Y, Z, and then do this and this and this, but just being there, because especially when, you know, you've been in that relationship for a while and you plan to have a baby, you're their person. And sometimes your presence is really enough.
It's good to know.
What are some of the signs that maybe partners can look out for? Maybe it's either side, but obviously we're talking about dads. There's certain things that we tend to do as blokes that are obvious when maybe we're going through some depression.
Yeah, so you mean from like mum's perspective, what to sort of look out for?
Or from a mate's perspective
Yeah,
as
So
well.
definitely,
Yeah, a bit of everything.
Sorry, pardon?
Or from a mate's perspective.
Yes, so definitely withdrawal is a big one. The repression and the withdrawal from normal activities. Again, we have that normal level of withdrawal as well. You know, you're not available to go to golf every Sunday now because you've got things to do. And you
damn.
might be, and you might be available, but my partner's not available. You know, you're not available to go beers all the time, all of that. But just in terms of like I mean, you know your mates pretty well. You know when someone's withdrawing from the career, and just really checking in and having not really asking questions that they can get away with, you know, instead of, hey, how you going? Yeah, good, thanks. Really asking those deeper level questions like, how are you actually feeling today? What have you done this weekend? Things like that, that people can't really hide from. But yeah, so the withdrawing, I guess, a big thing in the motherhood realm at the moment is the concept of motherhood rage, and acknowledging that dads can experience that as well, a level of rage, the sense of overwhelm when you're trying to repress a lot of your emotions because you're trying to be there and hold space for the whole family. You know, that can build up and come out in really nasty ways. And it might not be towards other people, it might be in private, but acknowledging that rage and seeing that build up in your friends as well is really talk to it, because the minute that becomes hidden is when it becomes problematic.
Do you find that often with blokes, obviously trying to hide, as you know, or trying to mask this, you know, mask the withdrawing, or you know, mask, you know, all of those particular things? Because I don't know, I think it's probably, you know, in our heads, it's like, oh no, I can't feel that way, or you know, oh no, like you said, hold that space, hold it together for the family. You know, so do you notice? I guess, is there anything that they can do, you know, before getting to that, or wives or mates?
Like themselves?
Yeah, well, yeah,
Noticing
themselves.
that
Yeah, is it? Yeah, is, you know, apart from them just sitting there going, "Yep, I think something's wrong." You know, like I don't know, like because like you said, there's not a lot of talk with midwives and you know how's the bloke going, you know, how's the dad going, kind of thing. You know, like is it should it just be amongst everyone's conversations, checking in with the dad?
100%. I think the first point of call is the couple, though.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whilst your partner is in physical and emotional mental recovery and still going through the motions in that postpartum period, you have a right to space as well. I think that's really important to know as a dad, like, because I think in the postpartum space, particularly, men think, oh, I don't get to have feelings here. Like, she just went through all of this. She's still going through all of this. This is really hard, especially then if you have maybe a breastfeeding mom. You're like, oh, she's up all night feeding. I can't really do much. I feel helpless on the side. What am I meant to do? How dare I say I feel angry, upset, hurt, I'm worried, I'm really struggling with what happened in the birthing room. How dare I? Because I need to support her. And I think it's really checking in with that. And she's also there to support you. And she loves you just as much as well. So if you need that space, you can take that 5 or 10 minutes with your partner to sit down and go, hey, I'm not feeling good about this. And she will be there for you.
I love that.
That's good.
Hey, Ash, we put it out to the masses, our listener question for the week, which relates directly to what you've been talking about. And we asked on Instagram at ShitDadPod, what's a negative emotion or feeling that you felt after the birth of your first child, or maybe I think it was just one of your children. And we had a number of answers, but I'd love to get your 2 cents on them as well. So a lot of them were based on being scared, guilty, unattached, annoyed, and dealing with trauma, like you mentioned as well. But the first one was feeling useless sometimes because Bub was so reliant on Mum. He softened it with a laughy face at the end of the message, but the feeling's there.
Yeah, 100%. I get that. We're a breastfeeding family, and my partner's definitely raised that a couple of times with our baby, not taking a bottle, not taking a dummy. I think the first point of call is what we call the social construction around this, which is the social narratives that dads have to choose from. And at the moment, the social narrative is make sure you mix feed or bottle feed so dad can bond with baby. And there's this big stigma around the only way dad can bond with baby is if they have a go in feeding via the bottle. And so when mum is breastfeeding particularly, I think that's enhanced for dads to feel useless as such. But I also want to empower dads and let them know that it's not up to mum to facilitate a relationship between you and the baby, and that's on you. And babies are meant to have different relationships between mum and dad. Even if they are breastfeeding, there's, you have useless nipples, but you have
With a hairy, warm chest
so
to
much
lie on.
dad, you have so much more than just feeding. Yeah. And just even that, like skin to skin is really important in that newborn phase. We know that. But I think knowing your value and your worth, that you have other things to offer as well, even in the newborn stage.
Love that. Another one, there was a couple that were sort of related around feeling useless and very relatable because we've all felt that way at some stage. But another one was absolutely hating myself for grieving a loss of social life while we had a happy and healthy baby.
Yeah, that's pretty big. I think everyone often talks about mother guilt, but no one really ever talks about the father guilt as well. And I'm guessing that sort of stems with going to work and as well, missing out on time with Bub and kids because you have other things to sort of tend to. But then also, the flip side of wanting to hang out with the child, be with the child, spend time with mum and Bub, but also missing out on the things that you used to do and that sense of self as well. Because what we've done before baby is who we are. And when we stop doing things like that, it feels like we lose a bit of who we are. And I think in the postpartum period as parents, both mums and dads, we wait for our old selves to come back and kick in. Like, maybe once the baby is sleeping through, then I can do this and I can do that. Or once things have settled down, I can do this and that. And it just never happens. It just never settles. Like something else comes around the corner.
Yeah.
And so I think finding new things that contribute to your sense of self, or finding a way or other things that are attached to the family that give you a sense of identity as well.
So you're not losing your sense of self and your identity. You're changing your identity completely to being more of a family orientated person.
Yeah, 100%.
The other one, loss of time to look after yourself. All energies directed into the small people. I think that one was more around that, maybe gaining a bit of sympathy weight, possibly.
The dad bod coming out.
Yeah, that's like I can even feel that, we, again, pre-baby, my partner and I were at the gym all of the time, and we were like, we'll still go to the gym, we'll put her in crèche, No. She hasn't been to creche once.
I feel that
All
right
the
in the
things that
gut.
you say pre-baby, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and like he used to spend hours at the gym with the boys and stuff like that, and no, doesn't do that anymore either. But yeah, that sense of guilt and that sense of I'm losing myself. I don't get to do the things that I used to do. You just kind of have to, unfortunately, move through and find things that you can do despite that. And changing that language is really important. So often we go, I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't do this. But if you can change it to, oh, well, I can do this and I can do that, you'll be really surprised how much momentum you'll gain just from that little bit of language shift.
Yeah, right. I felt that one right in the love handles. There's another one that says guilt for getting angry at the constant crying and lack of sleep. That's a real one for real.
Oh, yeah, that's like a generalized parent one, right? Because we should be okay. We need to be the stable base for the child, and we shouldn't lose our shit ever. And we should know how to manage our big emotions and all of that. We don't, because we're human. And having that little bit of compassion is really hard. I think it's not even the losing your shit in your moment. It's the talk that follows you afterwards. Like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. I wish I did better. All of that sort of stuff. I've definitely witnessed my partner, like he comes out after trying to rock her to sleep and he's got the shits. I'm fine. And I'm like, oh, you're not, because I know I'm not fine either.
Yeah.
Like I know what it's like when you come out and you're tapping out and you're like, you're tapping in, you're up, you're done.
Scream into a pillow.
You're not happy about it. You feel, 100%. You feel a sense of shame. And shame and guilt when they follow you is so much worse. Much worse. The issue that follows it is when we feel shame and guilt and we don't want to feel shame and guilt, we'll cover it up with feeling angry. And that's where rage can come in.
Yeah, right.
So having that compassion for yourself that you're only human, as long as Bubby's safe, then everything's okay. You can repair. Repair is the most important part because you're always going to step on landmines with each other from newborn till forever. But how you repair when you've had those blow-ups is really, really important, both from parent to child and within the couple as well.
Okay.
That's great advice.
Definitely, I'm taking that one to the bank. Yep. So another couple were very similar, and it was more to do with the not feeling good enough. So there was one that said that I wasn't good enough, and then the other one was my biggest fear was letting my kids down, and it still is. But when my eldest were born, it was 1,000 times worse. Could that lead to a bit of anger as well? Trying to mask the not feeling good enough?
Yeah, I think so. I think that comes from everybody wanting to show up in a certain way and having these ideas of how you'll show up pre-baby. Like you said in that one, with my first, it was so much worse. I think you get this sort of concept and this idea of I'm going to be this type of parent because we've all sat at the cafe, looked at each other and gone, I'm not being that parent. There's no way. My kid's not doing this. I'm not doing that. Yada, yada, yada. And then they come and you're like, oh, shit. Shit, I'm doing all the things I didn't want to do. Right? And you'll do that forever. But it's almost from our own judgments and what society tells us, how society tells us we need to show up. As parents, that places that pressure on us, and that's where that feeling of I won't be good enough. But I need to let you know that you only need to be good enough 70% of the time. You have like a 30% window to royally fuck shit up, and your child will still.
Love that.
There's our episode name.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. And then
I've filled my 30% quota. Sorry.
I get that daily for sure.
Before work.
Maybe that's why dads were meant to go to work. The capacity to only stay to 30% just wasn't right. And finally, one that can relate to a little bit, but it didn't make me angry. I was probably happier about this. Not seeing myself in Bub takes after his mum in almost every feature. And I'm like, cool. Personally, I'm like, yep, happy with that.
I've got 2 girls. I don't want them to look at anything like me.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, especially from like a mum's perspective. And you know, I know a couple of other mums that we have all girls, and all we get is they're so much like dad. I'm like,
Oh,
I hope not.
like he's a good looking dude, but like, come on. But yeah, I think that's a really interesting one. I haven't really come across that one, but like my mind kind of goes to, maybe it's gone like too far, but like, you know, are you worried that if you don't, like, one, there's that physical side of it, if you don't see you and your child, are you worried about infidelity or anything like that? Like that,
Potentially, yeah.
that's a bit of a concern.
Yeah.
But
Maybe we address that one first.
But yeah, I think like we all want to see ourselves in our children, and we want to see the best part of ourselves as well. So I hope, and I'm sure as our children grow, they'll top and tail between each parent and what they sort of pick up from us. And we really hope that what they pick up from each of us is the best of us, not the worst of us.
Too good. Well, that wraps up the listener questions. Did you guys have anything you wanted to ask Ash?
No, nothing more at my end. I've really enjoyed this chat. Just
Yeah.
hearing your thoughts and perspective. How also having gone through it yourself.
Yeah.
And with Ash, and seeing firsthand, you know, the differences between men and women, and how, you know, dads are kind of experiencing the first few months and years of childhood. So yeah, no, thanks for coming on. It's been really fantastic, and obviously something that we're really passionate about. We like talking about as well. So it's good to have an expert actually tell us that what we're thinking and feeling is okay.
yeah. It's been unreal, Ash. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Thank you.
Now, before we let you go, I did give you a quick warning that we'd love to hear a shit mum moment, if you have one, which is something that's happened. Probably we'll give you the whole year of Bub's life to come up with a shit mum moment, because there's got to be one.
It's 30% of them.
Yeah.
No, oh my God, I don't have any. Like the only thing that I can think of is just the amount of like punamis we have experienced with this child. It's like, is traumatic and next level. But I think like my shit mom thing comes from like, I really started to take them personally. Like I was like, do I not know how to do up nappies? Because every poop is like leaking through. Like, again, yeah, we're a breastfeeding family, so breastfeeding poos are like next level gnarly. Like they were going through the nappy, the clothes,
Up the back.
car seat,
Yeah.
like through the car seat, like onto. I'm so glad we had like a leather protector under there, but like we went through 4 car seat rotations in 1 week. Like, and I was taking it personally. I was literally calling my parents going, I think I'm the problem. I don't know how to do up nappies or something, because like every time she's just shitting through. Like, what am I doing wrong? Like, I'm like, I don't know how to do this.
Double bag it.
So,
You buy the one size bigger.
Yeah.
So it's like a 3 and then a 4 over the top.
I have heard of that. We were changing nappies overnight like 2 or 3 times just to make sure there was always like fresh nappy, ready to go. Oh, it's been quite traumatizing in our house. But I think my real shit mum moment comes from just one time when there was a big punami, and it was in my partner's car, brand new D-Max, by the way. So he had all the windows down. All the windows down, like, I'm not smelling this in my car. Freaking out. And he's dry reaching and then vomiting. Because we're taking my car to the mechanic. So I'm not in the car. I'm in the car behind him. And we pull up at the front of the mechanic. He gets the child out of the car. He's holding her and just leaking everywhere. She's screaming because she's so traumatized, and I'm yelling at him, going, "Get your shit together! You need to fix this." And he's like, "I can't." And I ran away, just left her with me in the gutter with just shit everywhere. And I didn't even have a baby wipe. That's how bad it was, because I cleaned my car ready for the mechanic, and all I had was my leather wipes because I was making sure I keep the car clean. We were wiping Bub down with leather wipes from my car, and I'm like, "What kind of mum am I? I don't have a baby wipe."
They're pretty much the same.
Does the job.
She smelled like new car smell for the next 24 hours.
Yeah.
It was good. That's good.
Yeah, so yeah, that was just one of many punani stories in our household.
That's real good. That's like the caliber of story we're after on the podcast. It's great.
Good. I'm glad I met everyone's expectations.
You're going above and beyond, Ash.
Awesome.
All right. Well, if you're happy with that, fellas, I think we'll leave it there. Thanks very much, Ash, for coming on, and we'll let you go and get an early night's sleep.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. See ya.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Love your work.
See ya. Oh, not the D-Max. That makes me upset.
Well, just the dry reaching got me, hey. Such a weak guts thing to do.
Windows down and then just out there. I could just picture him just holding the baby out. Right.
I can't get how there's so many dads that are they've just got weak guts. They just can't handle spew, poo, like spilt
Needles,
food.
yeah, all of that.
Yeah, I just can't deal with that.
Sometimes some of those shits though are next level.
But if you watch the YouTube videos of like dads dry reaching,
Oh yeah,
it's
that's
next level.
that
That's
is
so
funny.
good.
No, I like that.
All right, that was awesome. So we're going to round out the rest of the episode with a little bit more lighthearted stuff, but always obviously good to get stuck into some of the more serious things. So Nick, I hope you've got your trivia sound bites ready to go.
I'll have a look. Yeah, good.
Do you know stuff? Time for Dad Trivia, where we learn about the life of Dad by learning stuff you never thought you needed to know. Tonight's topic, Aussie trivia.
Oh yeah, okay.
There's no multiple choice today, boys. It's just fucking all or nothing.
Okay.
All or nothing.
I can deal with that. Yep.
All right. So I've got. Oh, look, what did I go to? I went to seven, because the last two were just bonus.
Okay.
All right, because they just tickle my fancy.
Lock it in.
All right, here we go. Ready, boys? Number one. When an Aussie tells you he's going to bend an elbow, what's he about to do?
Have a beer, isn't it?
Oh yeah, that makes more sense. I was just going to say wipe his ass.
Yeah, I'm going with the beer.
Yeah.
Fuck. Okay, I would have given you wiping the ass because that's fucking awesome. But yeah, drinking a beer. All right, here we go. Another Aussie slang. What does it mean by having a bo peep?
Having a sleep.
Sleep. Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, well done.
Good.
Done
Didn't
in
even know
5.
the
Yep. All right. Here's an interesting one. Right up your alley, Camo. Sports. Why was Australian football invented?
When?
Why?
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 Oh, sorry. Fuck that up.
Give convicts something to do.
It was like based on the Irish game, wasn't it? Aussie football?
Yeah, Gaelic.
Gaelic football?
Yeah, so but why was it? It was to keep the cricketers fit in the off season.
No shit, really?
Yeah.
Wow, okay. Didn't know that.
All right, here we go. This one's just in here because the fucking answer's awesome. No one's going to get it. Before being named Melbourne, what was the city known as?
Cooktown.
Birmingham.
Oh, look, I read it as Batmania, but it's Batmania, named after John Batman, who built a settlement on the Yarra River.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
that's cool. There's like a bunch of Batman roads and things.
Yeah.
in-
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
cool. Okay,
There you
that
go.
makes sense now.
Yeah.
So I just saw the answer. I'm like, that's fucking awesome. All right. All right. What's the more common slang term for fish frighteners?
Fish frighteners.
Yeah, fish frighteners.
Oh, shit.
More common slang term for them.
Lure.
No, I was going to say, no, I don't know.
Budgie smugglers.
Okay.
I went fishing.
Yeah. Yeah, I went straight to fishing too.
Yeah, but they're the fish frighteners.
Yeah.
Or
got it
more
now.
like bait, the little worm. All right. Here's the bonus ones because they're just unreal. Which former Australian Prime Minister set a beer drinking world record?
Has to be Hawke, doesn't it?
Bob.
Bob Hawke? The GOAT? What was it? What was the actual record?
It was Hawkey, which
Yeah.
just comes to my next question for you.
Okay, yeah.
How much did he drink and how quickly?
Wasn't it like 97
Yeah.
beers or something on a flight? Or was that, am I thinking Andre the Giant or Shane Warne?
That's
Shane
Andre.
Warne, right?
That's Andre the Giant.
Was it?
Yeah,
Oh, damn
Andre
it.
the
Was
Giant.
that at a cricket match?
No, it was back at his uni day, I think.
It
But
was in the 90s.
he drank 2.5 pints, so it's 1.4 liters of beer in 11 seconds.
So I wasn't even close, but that's still very impressive.
Fucking 2.5 pints in 11 seconds.
Oh, man.
Bring him back.
He's not the GOAT, he's the Pelican.
He did, but also then Andre the Giant drinking 97 beers.
That was crazy. On a
Yeah,
flight.
but like one beer to him is like a tenth of a beer.
like
it's
a
like
shot.
it's a little thimble. Anyway, boys, well done. I hope you enjoyed my Aussie trivia. It was very obscure.
Perfect, but now it's time for this.
Meep morp zeep zorb 100111100 Skynet chat DAD.
It never gets not funny.
It just it comes on. I start just doing a little beep bop beep beep beep
Morp,
bop bop.
So chat DAD, time to ask AI some fatherhood gold because we all know robots are all in on taking our jobs. So each week we ask a bit of advice from ChatGPT, or as we call it, Chat DAD. So obviously I mentioned before Mother's Day is coming up.
Yep.
So gift ideas. I asked for some exciting and unique Mother's Day gift ideas and some suggestions were pretty lame. Personalised photo book, customised jewellery, spa day, cooking class, virtual experience.
Because Chat GPT can't be like vulgar.
No.
Yeah,
No.
so it can't be anything
Unless
funny,
you
obviously.
can trick it, but yeah, it's a bit hard. So that's a bit lame. So I said, let's do it if your mum is a Star Wars fan.
That's good, yeah.
And what it came out with was, yes, some pretty cool Star Wars things, but all quite sexist. All to do with the kitchen. So, hey, this is what ChatGPT says. Lightsaber chopsticks, a Star Wars cookbook, a Star Wars apron, and a Star Wars Instant Pot.
Fuck's sake, Chat GPT.
So-
It's 2023.
Yeah, pull your head in
Yeah.
ChatGPT.
I want to see a freaking one of those things the stormtroopers ride, but a lawnmower. Get that from up. That'd be sick.
And the final one was, all right, just give me some really weird stuff. A mum who's into something quite odd. So some good ones were just some bizarre artwork, weird books, unusual jewelry. I'm like, that's not exciting. But then the best one out of those was strange taxidermy. If your mum has a morbid sense of humour, she might appreciate a piece of strange taxidermy. You can find a taxidermy mouse with wings or a squirrel riding a tiny bicycle, for example.
Oh, my God.
So
Or
there
an
you go.
ex-pet.
That's
Too dark.
It's a pigeon rat. On The Simpsons.
Yes, exactly.
Except they were alive.
Yes. So thanks for nothing, ChatGPT.
Yeah. I'll second that. No, that's good. I got a couple of good Mother's Day legit ideas there. That's good.
Just gonna go dig up my old dog.
Yeah.
And just taxidermy.
May not work very well.
No. But now we're going to continue our book of the ABC of shit daddery, what not to do. So each week we bring a piece of shit dad advice for a letter of the alphabet. And this week's letter is going to be P for postpartum depression.
I've got to stop wasting time and fucking doing a serious one. Fuck.
It's not supposed to be serious.
I know, but I always do a serious and a funny one.
Okay.
And my serious one is like so much more thought.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I thought it was meant to be stupid.
This is what happens.
We're not qualified to give actual advice.
No, it's not advice. It's just experience.
yeah, true.
And this also is what happens when you don't listen.
Do you want to?
Oh, yeah,
do you
I'll
wanna
start.
go?
Yeah, I'll go. So I said P, being proactive. So be proactive. Or, just procrastinate until the last minute like everyone else.
Yeah, good. Love it.
Mine was pretending. So it's always fun to pretend with your kids. Like you can pretend to be an astronaut or pretend to be Spider-Man, or you can pretend that you're not really their father.
I was going that way as well. That's awesome.
Oh, that's good. What do you got, Benz?
Mine's not that good. But yeah, I bought the dad advice that changing pooey nappies doesn't last forever, but poo jokes do. What's big and brown and behind the wall? What? Humpty's dump.
Oh, that's good.
Wow. Really, we raise the bar at the start of the ep and then we drop it right at the end, don't
that's
we?
the way to go. We get the serious stuff out of the way first and then kick on with the fun stuff.
It's good to have a serious listen and then have a laugh after.
Exactly.
Because
That's
it just brings you back.
Yeah.
Brings you back to reality and poo jokes. Now it's time for this.
Shit Dad Story of the Week.
We're going to fix that. But it's good.
I love it.
All right, Dave, what do you got, mate?
All right, so mine, little story. So took the two down to Sandgate for a walk along the waterfront, between I'm going to say Miss 4. She's almost 4. Was scootering. She decided she didn't want to scooter anymore. So she was just walking along the edge. So I was just pushing the scooter beside her. So it just wasn't even the edge of the water. It was just the edge of the path. Raised a little bit, walking. Mum was down on the grass trying to get to the cafe near the pool there now. So she was down there probably a good 15 metres away. She's there walking with me. She did something like stumbled a little bit. Ah, fuck's sake. I'm like, pardon? What did you say? I said, fuck's sake.
Oh,
And I'm like...
Miss 4 said that.
Yeah, and I'm like, no, we don't speak like that. She's like, what? It's not a bad word. Hey, Mum, is fuck's sake a bad word?
Oh, my God.
And she's like, so she just kept pushing the pram away. You don't say that.
Hey, whose kid is that?
I'm like, I can see you. I just jumped in the water. But I was like,
I swam to Redcliffe.
it's like every time it's like, no, that's a bad, you don't say that. Only adults say that when they're blah, blah, blah. And then they'll always go, Mum, is fuck a bad word?
Oh, that's
is
good.
fuck? But
Yeah.
it was just dead set. And I was just like, people just like straight up, because we were close enough to the cafe
Yeah,
and that
yeah.
cafe's always busy. And I was just like, it was just the best moment. I'm sitting there going, fuck,
Fuck's sake.
fuck's sake, fuck's sake.
Awesome.
And you get all those parents at the cafe. Oh, no, non-parents like
Yeah,
we
just
used to
looking
be,
at-
like
Yeah.
Ashley was saying.
Yeah,
just
yeah.
judging.
My kid's never going to talk
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
I was like, yep, let's go. What do you want? You can have the biggest chocolate milkshake you want here. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
We've got a listener shit dad moment this week.
Cool.
So this was in the shit daddery booster yarn on Facebook. If anyone wants to join, please do. This is from Christopher, and he said, last time we play a game of Nudie Rudy before showers for a while. This doesn't even show the damage for treading in it without knowing and tracking it up the carpeted hallway. And he shared a picture of just a neat little poo on the carpet.
Just a nice little package.
And he says, as a bonus, me on my hands and knees in my undies, scrubbing shit out of a carpet with a toothbrush, surely got my wife's engine going. So very descriptive. So
On
thank
the
you for
workbench
sharing.
after the work stench. We took the kids to the bike shop to get Mr. Seven fitted for a new bike for his birthday. And on my bad part, we forgot to tell, well, sorry, not we, I forgot to tell him that big boy bikes don't have the pedal brake. You know how you pedal backwards to stop it? So Q major tantrums when he couldn't, major tantrums and panic when he couldn't stop. And it was just like, he decided to start going around in circles until he figured out how to stop. And then he's just like, nah, fuck this. I'm just going to try and put my foot down. And he forgot, he's sort of used the handbrake. And then he's like put his foot down and thought, oh, this is a bit heavy, and just fucking dropped it. He's gone down with it. Like, it must have been an absolute scene for anyone walking past. There was like limbs everywhere, people slipping over bloody puddles of tears, dad swearing his head off under his breath and veins popping all through his neck. Oh, mate, it would have been an absolute nightmare.
Was that still at the bike store?
Yeah. So they gave us a test drive of this bike. So we've gone around the back of the store to have a test ride of this bike, and he's had an absolute mare. And I didn't deal with it too well either. So that's my shit dad, mate.
Scratched it up and said, "Oh, that's not for me."
Yeah, it wasn't from us, mate. No.
Hey,
This is
mate,
brand
look-
new, sir. No, definitely not from us. I
Hey,
think
mate, look at those scratches. I mean, that's definitely worth a discount.
so. It's not like throwing a can of beans and getting a 50% discount.
Oh, camo.
Just a quick one from me this week. Took the kids yesterday. Had the two oldest ones. Took them in the beach trolley, which is just our mode of transport these days around the suburb because it's so quick and easy.
Yeah.
All right, jump in. Let's get out of the house quickly before lunch. All right, quickly, just jump in. Yeah, no, you don't need shoes. Whatever. Go up to the park. Go in the swing and the old slippery dip. And as soon as we get there, the kids jump out, run around with no shoes on. I'm sitting down, and I look down, and I can just see smashed cider glasses everywhere. Cider bottles, sorry. Yeah. All our Summersbees everywhere. And the kids are running around having a great time. I'm just like, oh, God, all right, I got to pick you up. Let's go. I don't know where they are. They would have been everywhere. But yeah, next time you go to the park, maybe take some shoes.
Yeah, just even if it's pluggers.
Yeah,
You know-
anything.
Yeah.
Shame on those fuckers smashing those bottles.
I know.
Yeah, I
Bloody
know.
youths.
Bloody
Yeah.
used these days.
Summersby, by the way.
Drink something decent for fuck's sake.
I just pinched it out of Dad's fridge. That's been left there
You have
from
a
a
dad,
party.
you got two mums.
That's just been left there at a party that no one's touched. The after party just sits in the fridge until, hey mate, you want a beer? Yeah. It's a really good one. I bet they're about 4 years old. Fuck.
All right, guys. That's it for another week. That's a great episode. Awesome.
That was really good.
Awesome to have Ashley on. Thank you for joining us again. Any final thoughts before we head off for the night?
Yeah, boys, I wrote in, take some advice from our mate Bluey and throw away your problems a little bit more often to ensure that you can be as present as you can
Daily.
be.
Daily. That's
be
good
that.
advice.
It's hard enough. Like, it's hard to notice that you were doing it, but when you do notice it, like, you don't have to physically fucking pull your shit out like they do on the show. But just go, you know what? Nah, put your phone down, walk away, something, and just live in that moment with your kids because you'll forget about it. They'll make it better.
Yeah.
Unless they drop a turd on the carpeted hallway.
And you're
okay
going to clean
to
it in
get
your
mad.
undies. I had, as much as it doesn't feel like it, parenting is more than shouting out the window 10 times that the kids need to come inside. At the end of the day, only to give them 5 more minutes every single time because it's easier.
Yeah.
Parenting is more than that.
And my departing bit of advice: jump online now, go to Amazon, find a Mother's Day gift, order it online, and you're sorted.
Get express delivery.
Yeah. Don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, good.
All right. Well, thanks again for joining us for another busy week, everyone. We'll be in your ears this time again next week. Have a good week, everyone. See ya.
See ya.
ya.
Whether you came for some dad advice, a laugh, or some dad hacks, we thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen.
Please get involved on our socials at ShitDadPod on Instagram and TikTok, or ShitDad Podcast on Facebook, and of course the share line 07 30 40 95 45.
Support the guys who keep us rolling. Black Property Group and Anytime Fitness Griffin. Add value to your house with your dad bod out.
And don't forget, whether you're here for your kids daily or not, be present wherever you can, because we're all in the same boat when it comes to fatherhood for the kids.